Tape Deck Media.
Step right up. Listen to the Awful Service Podcast. It's future radio on your computer phone. You've heard of Hannah and Barbera, Laurel and Hardy, Sears and Roebuck, now Doyle and Cocazello. Are you a bean counter at your boring job? Listen to the Awful Service Podcast. We've got segments, we've got guests, we've got Karens.
The Awful Service Podcast, available where all podcasts are streamed. Brought to you by Tape Deck Media.
Brutal this, brutal that. We got the riddles that'll make you chat. Oh yeah, baseline stuff been through this tight. Get your funk on, we're rocking tonight. One more time.
Shalom, Mr. Hickman. Welcome back to Riddle Me This. It's been too long.
It's been not long enough, but I'm back.
You've been fending this off all year, have you?
Yep.
Just leaving me undelivered.
Yeah, it's fighting.
Welcome back. I think last year we started the year by doing what we called a Q&Tay video, but trying to get questions out of my audience was like pulling teeth. So I think I got to make my own. I got to make my own thing that doesn't require any input for the first podcast of the year. So yeah, this is going to be the first one of the year. Happy New Year to the listeners out there.
Happy New Year. I see you've successfully managed to ensure this requires no second person, and that's why I'm here.
Pretty much, yeah. I basically just need company is really what I would get lonely otherwise. You know how it is. And I do think that's quite funny. The both of us have taken we've chosen creative pursuits that don't require teamwork at all.
Why would you depend on other people when you can barely depend on yourself?
Yeah, when you can lock yourself in a room and then several hours later come out with a finished product. So welcome along, Henry. Did you have a good Christmas and New Year? It hasn't been New Year yet when we record this, but I'm just going to...
We'll role play. We'll pretend.
Yeah.
I was in Ashburton for Christmas, so I'll take any commiserations in the comments.
Yep,
and
here for the chat, boys.
Yep. And all of my family, except for me, is away for New Year's, so thumbs up.
Nice, nice. What are your plans for the new year?
Like the entire year? Or finish my PhD at some point?
Just the new year, like Eve or whatever. Oh, you're doing a show, aren't you? Yes, that's right.
I am doing a show. Yes,
indeed. Sick. So let's get into some of these. What I've done is, to the listener, you'll know this because you will have clicked on the title. But instead of doing Q&A, I am going to be doing my own tiny joys. I've been collecting a list of things that have brought me joy throughout the year. And then I've also got a list of tiny banes, which is things that have annoyed me or otherwise made my life difficult. So we'll do one of each, and I'll tell them to Henry, and then he can give his thoughts on them, and then that'll be the episode. So the first one here that I quite like is hitting the drive-thru on the way home after a social event. Have you ever done this, Henry?
I hate driving, and by extension, drive-thrus. This is actually my tiny bane. Because I can't, my driving is awful, and so the drive-thrus are so narrow, and it's like, oh my God, this is the most stressful experience.
So the drive-thru is not a happy place for you?
No, never.
This is, so I've been scanning this list a lot, just in the lead up to this. There's a lot of food related things on this list. There's a lot of is it misanthropy when you find people irritating?
That's a big word.
Yeah. I think misandry? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure misandry is hating women.
No, that's misogyny. Which is also on the... No.
Misanthropy is disliking humankind.
Yeah, misanthropy.
And misandry is disliking men, which, to be fair...
Yeah. Fair enough, right?
Yeah.
So, first one there. I don't know why, but and this is, clearly indicative of someone who has a weight problem, is the idea of like going out for dinner with your friends and then on the drive home thinking like, oh, I could just stop in at like a Burger King or a McDonald's, or you know what I mean? Like I'm proud to say I haven't done this for a long time, but oh man, it hits differently when you're driving home from you've just been pretending to be a functioning adult with all your real world friends, and you know you've been socializing for a bit, and then you're like, now it's time to bring it right back to being a sort of, you know, goblin or whatever creature. I think goblin mode is the one people use
Yeah.
nowadays.
Well, no, you're not. If someone else is driving, then I'm on board. My problem with the drive-through is not the
Ah,
through it. It's having to drive is my bane. But I was
yes,
coming back from my granddad's 80th birthday just yesterday, and we
perfect.
thought about ordering dessert at the restaurant, but my sister, who was driving, was like, no, no, Macca's drive-through McFlurry on the way home.
Yes,
And that's,
yes.
we've spent all this time around some lovely people, but very old people. And so being able to de-stress and go through the Macca's drive-through and be like, yeah, we're just gonna go goblin mode on a McFlurry. I'm
Yep.
in.
All right, Henry. Next gig that we do that I'm driving, you and me, we're gonna hit the drive-through after. We're gonna go. We're gonna go somewhere nice on the strip and eat like a proper adult meal, like pasta or steak, and then
Yep.
on the way back, it's Mackey's drive-through.
Good plan. Good plan. I'm in.
That Ashburton McDonald's is a nice one as well. Like to me, having done a lot of road trips to like what do you call it? To Dunedin and the South Island and stuff. That excuse me, that McDonald's is like kind of the I don't know what the word is like. It's the sign that you're almost home. Do you know what I mean? Like it's the
Yeah.
Pavlovian kind of like just about an hour left until I'm back in Christchurch. So yeah, I
Yeah.
have I have a soft spot for that McDonald's out there.
It's a good one. It's right on the main road as well, but I have the
Yes.
similar soft spot for the one in Rolleston
Yep.
because that's like right on the doorstep. Because I normally only go to Ashburton, I don't go much further, so it's like I'm like 20 minutes from home. Stop
Mm.
in, boom, we're good, we're sorted.
Yes, for me that as well. For a while, that was the Yoldhurst McDonald's. That was when I was doing my shows out in Kerwee. That would always be where I would quite often stop on the way through. So, well, you wouldn't stop, you just drive through. But yes, uh, wonderful. Okay, first Bane, and I think you'll be able to, as a fellow socially awkward man, when a pedestrian crossing light changes too early and you have to run to make it over in time is one of my banes.
It depends on if I reckon I can hit the Naruto run along the way or not.
Is that does it help with speed?
No, it just helps me. That's one of my tiny joys is doing stupid
Hitting
things in public that don't matter,
hitting the
you
Naruto
know?
run?
Yeah.
Fair.
Especially if I have friends around me and it upsets them.
Fuck, I don't have that kind of confidence to hit a Naruto run out of nowhere. That's a neck level of like not giving a fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, you should aspire to it. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, one day I'll get there. Maybe if I if I keep at this self-discovery therapy. I don't know. Um, but I just, yeah, as someone who's pretty lazy, that's always quite often pedestrian crossings are a good chance to like have a little rest. But when it changes,
Ah,
and in fact, I'm not going to get my little rest, and I now have to run, exerting more energy. That's just like a double whammy of negativity for me. So yeah, I hate it when that happens so badly.
I think what's even worse is when you're on a good line for your walk and you can see the light changing and you're thinking to yourself, do I run to press the button to time it perfectly and miss it and look like an idiot? Or do I not run to press the button and then have to wait like a whole cycle? Because a whole cycle is a
Oh
long time,
yeah.
or two cycles even.
Yes. So
And
you
so
mean
it's a,
like you're familiar with the traffic lights enough to where you know when they're going to change? Yes. An addition to that is when you're in a car and there's a traffic light with an arrow and somebody walks up to it, they can't keep their sticky little hands to themselves and they hit the button and then keep walking. They're not even using the resulting arrow that comes from hitting the button. They just want to push something, because that's what people do, is they wheedle and they touch everything, and keep your hands to yourself, people. Like
The bane here is just pedestrian crossings. We hate them, all of them.
I mean, they're a great idea in theory. The problem is people. That's the problem. Like, do you do this as well? Do you cover your hand with your, like, the sleeve of your shirt when you push the pedestrian crossing button?
I will now. Now that don't make me think about this.
Sorry, I think I've just put a thought in your head that you're not going to be able to think about now. Um, for those audio only listeners, Henry just put his head in his hands, almost like he almost did the Shikamaru from Naruto pose.
Actually, completely unrelated. I did do the Shikamaru from Naruto pose, the Shadow Possession Jutsu, because I sometimes don't know what to do with my hands when I'm standing
Yeah,
around.
yeah.
And it kind of looks like a V if you do it wrong. And someone thought that because it made a V shape, I was calling them a cunt. It's a true thing that happened to me a couple of days ago.
That's a whole nother level of insecurity when you're just looking for problems like that, eh?
Yeah,
Okay, next one.
absolutely.
So are you a chocolate man, Henry?
I am a chocolate man,
Are
as in
you?
I am a man who likes chocolate.
Oh, I thought. Sorry, I was going to say you're a man who's secretly made of chocolate, and
Uh,
if we unwrap the foil, um, are you a refrigerated chocolate enjoyer, or are you a room temperature heathen?
I have a feeling there's a right answer here. And my
No.
answer is that it
Why would you think
depends.
that?
If it's a box of chocolates like a box of favorites and the room temperature is a normal room, then I'm a
Yeah,
room temperature heathen. But if it's like hot, you need to put it in the fridge because
yeah,
otherwise, but if you leave it in the fridge too long, it gets hard. And then if it's got like a gooey center, it like solidifies, which is terrible. So there are levels to this. There are
yeah.
levels to this, Taylor. And
That's
you,
true.
as a man of your caliber, I feel like
Mm,
you know there are levels to this.
mm. Do you know the funny thing is though, I'm a bit of a purist when it comes to chocolate. I really adventure into the realm of like gooey centers and Black Forest, the jelly bits. For me, it's generally, what is the brand? I think it's like Lind or something. It's very thin. They're like thin chocolate bars, and I usually go for dark because I think you can trick yourself into thinking that it's good for you if you go for dark chocolate because of all the sort of misinformation about antioxidants or something. Do you know what I mean? Is that just me or is
Yeah.
that
No, that is the
yeah,
true thing about dark chocolate.
yeah. It
Yes,
is better for you, but it's not good for
it is.
you.
Well, yeah, it's also better for you than getting shot, but you probably shouldn't do either, you know?
What I love about those health food stars is is when you pick up a food that like because if I remember correctly, I don't know what it's like in the States, but we have this logo that has an amount of stars here in New Zealand, and it's like the more stars that 5 stars is healthy or good for you, whatever it is, but the little asterisk beside it is that star rating is relative to other products in that category. So when you pick up something and it has a 2 star rating, that's 2 stars compared to the other versions of it that you can find on the
Ah,
market. So it's not even good for its category, which I
ah,
just love.
I did not know that. I thought you were going to say every food is bad for you, like
Yeah.
everything. I've gotten into pineapple recently because it's summer and it's quite nice. And so I'll cut up a pineapple and I'll go to eat it. And someone's like, oh my God, do you know how much sugar is in that pineapple? And I'm like, for
Yeah.
fuck's sake, it's a fruit.
Yeah.
Just don't try and tell me that fruit is bad for me
I
now.
know, right? Don't ruin fruit for me. I myself have recently become a fruit enjoyer. I didn't really eat fruit until a couple of weeks ago. I've been forcing myself to eat a banana and an apple every day, and then I've got some frozen berries in the fridge. I heard somewhere that the reason fruit juice is bad for you, whereas like eating a piece of fruit is fine, is because of the fiber, and it has something to do with the fact that the something having fiber in your system, it's like you know how the way diabetes works is like your body releases insulin, and then the insulin's supposed to come back down, but
Yeah.
because we're constantly, well, weirdly enough, I'm not really a snackish person, but I think most people are snacking throughout the day. So the insulin just you're like redlining your insulin all day, and it just doesn't come back down. And that's why people get well, I don't know if that's why people get diabetes, but it's certainly not good for us to do that.
No,
Um,
but if I'm eating a fruit, just leave me alone.
yeah,
You
don't
know?
don't try to make this worse for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so long story short, the fiber attached to it is apparently what makes you tolerate the sugar better. It's not as bad for your insulin, I think. Um,
Don't remember
okay,
what joy
next.
we were talking about, to be honest.
Yeah, okay. Next bane on the list is spam emails, how they become even more annoying when you're waiting for an important or stressful email to come in. Like, have you noticed that when you're waiting for an email response, like, every normal day, you don't even notice your email notifications, but when you're specifically waiting for one, is also when you'll somehow be the day that you're getting bombarded with a whole bunch of spam emails and newsletters and crap like that.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. And the exact time it happens to me is whenever I'm publishing anything, because I'll send my work off and I'm waiting for the editor to be like, this is shit, revise it. And in the meantime, I'll get like 20 emails from scam journals that are like, hello, Dr. Hickman, which I'm not yet.
Yeah.
Would you like to publish your work in our journal? Just pay us $3,000 and we'll publish it in this impact journal with no impact. And I'm like, fuck off. I'm talking to a real person. Leave me alone. So yes, this happens to me all the time.
Yes. So that's usually the tip off that they're not a legit publication is when they call you Dr. Hickman when you're not yet a doctor.
Honestly, the fact that they reach out to me at all, if you're a high quality journal or conference, you don't need to ask me.
Yeah.
I'll already know about you and I'll want to publish in you.
The old expression of I wouldn't want to be in a club that would have me as a member.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm trying to think of what situation I've been waiting for an email. I was going to say as well, when you submit your papers and such, uh, does it also give you a notification of when the person has viewed it?
It does not, thankfully,
Oh,
because
I
I would
hate
lose my
knowing
shit.
that. It's like when the for the American and foreign listeners, there's a website called Seek, which is like the job hunting website here in New Zealand. And for some reason, Seek it sends you these notifications that are just, from what I can tell, they're just designed to build dread in the job hunting process. Like it'll tell you, oh, they've opened your application. They're looking at your application now. You might hear from them. And then they also tell you like, oh, you know, they've closed the applications for this job, and you're sort of like, well, what that information doesn't really help me. Like, what more do you want me to do? I've already signed up for the job. Like, you know, what else can I do really? But
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
get emails.
Yeah.
Emails from Seek in general are pretty hit or miss because it'll be like, do you want to be a software engineer? And I'm like, maybe. And they're like, do you want to be a midwife? I'm like, well, I'll give it a shot.
You want to be a beekeeper, Henry?
I'll think about it.
Yeah. Yes, no, the jobs that they're like, well, we think you're perfect for this job. And it'll be like food safety compliance officer or something. And you're like, how did you get that for me?
Hmm.
Okay. Number three. Um, this is one of my favorite feelings ever. And again, this is a food-based one. Um, it is, when you've got a bowl of dip, like at a party or whatever, and you get to be the first one to break the surface of the dip.
You get to be. Is this like a joy here?
Yeah, it's a joy.
Okay, okay.
Interesting. Do you feel like that's too much pressure?
Well, I normally don't engage in dip, to be honest. I'm not a big dip
Mm.
enjoyer. But when I'm getting margarine out of the margarine receptacle,
Yeah,
and it becomes so ugly, you know? You
true. Yeah,
drag your knife through it and you're like,
yeah, you're
fuck.
taking this pristine surface and yeah, destroying it. Um, okay, let's move on to the next one. Just try and get through some more of these because I've got about 10 of each. So
Speed run, speed run.
I'm gonna skip that one. Oh no, we're good. So uh, when one of your body hairs snags on like a tight-fitting piece of clothing and it feels like you're being stabbed by a tiny pin. Have you ever had that, or is that a me thing?
I think you're hairier than I am. I don't think we've ever seen each other without our shirts.
No.
And we should keep it that way.
Yes, I think yeah.
But I have hair, but just enough to make people make fun of me. That
Ah,
I have that
right.
amount of body hair, you
You
know?
need that real Goldilocks zone of body hair when you're a man, don't you?
Yeah.
Not too much, but also you can't have none either.
Yeah, I've got just like slightly too little, especially you know what, you might need to cut this out of the podcast because we're talking about my chest hair now, but I've always just had a lack of chest hair. And so clearly I need to eat more spicy food or whatever to grow some hair on my chest. I don't know.
Drinking hard brown liquor or something, they always say that'll put hair on your
Yeah.
chest. Do you actually want me to cut that out?
No, I don't care.
Okay. It's like David Mitchell when they they say something about him wearing underwear or something, and everyone's like they almost struggle to picture him as like a sexual creature in a way, and he leans in and he's like, I'll tell you a little hint, guys. Under my clothes, I am naked, and then there's like big cheer from the audience, and yeah,
Exactly what the podcast crowd is doing at home when they hear about my chest hair.
yeah, exactly. Wow, Henry, he inhabits a physical body. That's we thought he was just a JPEG on YouTube. Henry Hickman survivor, folks.
Oh,
Get
yep,
along
yep.
to it. Okay, next Tiny Joy. So there's a real specific spot on my boxing bag that when I punch it, it makes an incredible sound. It's like a canvas bag, I think, but it has a leather or faux leather sort of it's like a racing stripe. It has a stripe around the middle, and when you hit that spot with a good hook or something, you just get this big bang sound in it, and you just feel like
Yeah.
a monster. It's delightful.
No, that is delightful. I don't punch because I have, I just, I don't know why, but I'm a big kicker, I've been practicing my TKD, you know,
More of a kick enjoyer.
more of a kick enjoyer. And when you get a good hook kick going and you get a good power behind it and it goes boom against the bag, good
That's
times.
right. That is a great feeling. I used to do Muay Thai, and when you'd throw a good shin kick into the bag, and like even when you take your leg away, you can see the indentation of where it was. It's just like, yeah,
Oh,
you feel like a monster. It's wonderful. Okay, next Bane. So given that we both suspect there's some kind of autism in our lives, um, having to repeat myself when I feel like I very clearly and directly communicated something is a bane of my life. You ever experienced this, Henry?
yes, because people don't listen to me and I don't understand why.
Yeah.
I'll explain something and then they'll be like, what? And I'll be like, can you just listen,
Yeah.
please?
Yeah.
Please?
So I very carefully choose the words that I use. And I think the average person doesn't. And this is a point of frustration with me where um, you know how people will throw the word fascist around quite a bit? And like there was a big thing in the Trump debate where Dominic Sandbrook, this podcaster, he was getting a little bit like, all right, let's not throw the word fascist around because we have had real fascists in the world and there were things that were different about it. And I find that I'm uneasy with people. It was like hyperbole when people will jump to like the most intense
Yeah.
form of a word and they'll just
Yeah.
throw it around like it means nothing because it's like that whole diminishing returns of like, you not everything is amazing or incredible or whatever. It's like some things are just okay and that's fine. Like we need to still use these lesser words. Not everything is like it's like not one or zero. Do you know what I mean? It's not a boolean at all times.
Oh, Boolean, what a word.
Yeah.
You're speaking my language. There is this thing in linguistics where the most hyped word becomes the new default. And so
Yes.
like there used to be the Sigma male was someone who existed outside of the male rankings, but now the Sigma male is the one above alpha, and we need a new word for the person who exists outside the rankings, and it
Yeah.
keeps
Yeah.
stacking on top of itself on itself. And like tier lists, they have S tier, but then S tier is not good enough now. So now they have double S tier, but double S
Oh,
isn't good. So
yeah.
now we have God tier, and every time
Yeah.
there's a new season of Survivor, this is the best season ever. This is the worst episode ever. This is the greatest. This is
Yeah.
ah, thank you.
Yes. And then what I think I struggle with as well is I think so I communicate quite directly in the sense that I'll like use the exact word that I'm thinking. And I think people don't do this. People just use whatever words they want, and they're like, they'll understand what I mean. And so like, sometimes at venues or whatever, we tell like someone, can you please turn the lights? I'll say, can you please dim the lights? There's several venues that I do that. And I'll say to them, can you please dim the lights as low as they will go? And they hear, can you please dim the lights a little bit? And I'm just like, again, as low as they will go. That was the key part. You heard the dim the lights. That was
Yeah.
great. But you
Yeah.
just completely ignored half of the sentence that I asked there. And I think
Oh,
that's because most people just say things and they're like, through some combination of facial expressions and human intuition, they'll figure. And like, I think for the most part, people do manage to they kind of get there in the end. But yeah, for me, when I'm like, I feel like I chose every word in that sentence was exactly what I was thinking. And then, people will just be like, huh? Or, like, I don't understand. And you're like, well, then fucking read it again. Like, I'm not going to choose a different sequence of words that say the same thing. Um,
it's the
yeah,
same with
that was,
emails.
yeah.
We're looping back to emails again. Whenever I email someone, I will say three things and they'll read the first thing and respond to the first thing and be like, cool, I've fucking
The other
nailed
two,
this.
just in
The other
the air.
two are just they're just there for like set decoration. They can't be
Yeah,
important.
yes.
Okay. So I need to send
Okay.
like three separate emails.
You do, yeah. Or you need to wait till they've responded to the first one and then fucking ask this. Yeah, I relate to that very well. Okay, another joy. Re-experiencing via the internet, comics, movies, TV shows, video games, and etc. that I wasn't able to as a child. I assume this might be slightly lost on you, although I imagine you're going back and
I'm
watching
in.
old Survivor that you couldn't watch when you were a child.
Got my 2 terabytes of Survivor ready to go. I've actually, a friend of mine has recommended I finally watch Neon Genesis Evangelion, and so I'm going to
Throwback.
finally start that.
Yeah.
Um, there are so many games that you can't easily play through traditional means. Like, have you ever heard of God Hand?
Yes, it's like a
What the
beat 'em
fuck?
up sort of game, isn't it?
It is. I did not expect that answer,
Look,
but
man,
yes, I've been playing
I'm
God
an
Hand
OG.
lately. Yeah,
My
been
friend
playing with
always
God
calls
Hand.
me
It's so
old
good.
head because I only
Yeah.
play old video. I'm getting into cassette tapes again for audio. Like I'm currently I'm currently designing J card sleeves for cassettes to make all my comedy albums into like a cassette tape. Have a little collection there. And yeah, my friend constantly calls me old head when I reference. I'll be like, "Did you ever play something 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 on the SNES?" And he'll just be like, "Why do you know what that is?" Like, I couldn't tell you any of the games that released this year, but everything from like before I was born, I like. But sorry, God Hand, you haven't been able to figure out how to play it?
No, I have been playing it on an
What
emulator and it's great.
what is it on
But
originally?
it's on PS2.
Ah, yes, it's from
But
that
like,
era. Yeah.
I'm gonna try and buy God Hand right now. God Hand purchase. This is a bit of an improv. Let's see what comes up.
Oh, yes, you
Okay,
couldn't even do it if you wanted to, sort of thing.
I've got what has come up as pliers, so that's not what I'm after. God
Mm,
Hand, PS2. Can I buy it? I can buy it for $883 off of eBay.
hell yeah, that seems like a deal.
Yeah. All right, we're in. Yeah, that's the only option available.
Yeah, that's what bothers me about Nintendo sometimes is historically they've been like really wanting you to play these nostalgia, they want you to have nostalgia for the other games, but then you ask them, well, can we have a legal way to enjoy them again on the new generation console? And they're just like, nah.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. And so I am all for media preservation in every form. There is a
Yeah.
reason I have 2 terabytes of Survivor on my hard drive right now. Preserving media is dope. Do
Mm.
it, people. That's
Yeah,
you listening right now.
you're like
You
the
probably have
crypt
a bit of
keeper.
media that no one else has. Preserve it.
Preserve it. I have an old series of Pulp Fiction that was a New Zealand TV show. I think you might have been slightly too young to remember it, but um and it's just MP4s that someone has recorded off the television. So there's all the old commercials and stuff from like 2004. So yeah, very big fan of that. We just got the Zoom 10 minutes, so let's get through another couple of these. When a company adds you to their mailing list after rejecting a job application you submitted is something that makes me want to just go and burn the company down when they do that.
Yeah,
Um, which I'm
yeah.
sure is illegal, but I think I've read into like the laws about mailing lists and such, and they're actually quite strict. But I think the average person doesn't really know what their rights are when it comes to being spammed with email. Um, what I
The
always
average
find so
person doesn't know what their rights are.
yeah, yeah, that's true. I find it so fascinating that when you send a digital mailing list, you actually have to put an address in it as well as a kind of like, I don't know whether it's a return to sender thing. But I always find that interesting the way politicians, I'm like, are they just putting their actual house address down or is it like their office, you know?
Yeah, I have no clue. But uh, honestly, being put on any mailing list is annoying. My
Mm.
brother and when you install software is also terrible. You'll be installing like an old game from 2000s. It'll be like, hey, don't install Ask Jeeves at the same time. You know, why the fuck would I want to install Ask Jeeves? But it's ticked by
Yeah,
default, and so it's just why? Just I
yeah.
don't want Ask Jeeves. I don't want to be on your mailing list. Can we just like not? Can we
Or when
not?
you purchase something at a store and they need your need quote unquote
Yeah,
need your email to make the purchase, and then before you've even gone home, you've received like four emails from their fucking mailing lists.
yeah,
That just
no, it's
drives me up the
completely.
wall. Okay,
Yeah,
next tiny joy. So this is the thing that leads me to believe that if I was a drinker or a smoker or a drug user, I would have an addictive personality because um, I can't exactly understand why, but like I'm a big mints guy, like peppermint spearmint, that kind of thing. And the joy I feel when I check the little box that I have of mints and see that there's still like around 50% or more left is just that like kind of like, okay, we're set. Like, I don't have to, this is not going to be an issue for a while. And I can only sort of think of how that would manifest if I was like a smoker. You know what I mean? I'd be checking my pack of smokes, being like, oh no, my supply's running low. I better go buy some more. And like, I suspect that's an indication of some other personality defect. But yeah, if I've got
no, it's
like
the same
a
thing.
yeah, yeah. But if I've got like a little packet of mints or something and I just see that there's like a good amount left, I'm like, yeah, okay, we're good. We're safe.
Yeah, it's the same for me. If I look at the season of Survivor I'm watching and see that I've got a good amount left, I'm like, yeah, we're
Oh,
good.
interesting. So you like having more to come versus like being complete, like for the completionist side of things.
Well, once it's over, you just start again. There's always more to come. Keep going.
Yeah. Um, I just talking of re-experiencing stuff from when we were a kid. I just watched. There's like a 7 hour YouTube video of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX Season 4. I think we were talking about this, weren't we?
Yeah.
And that was very much me wanting to finish it, but not really enjoying the middle half of that season. And like, um, I was talking to my brother about this, and he recommended that I check out because like GX for me was kind of my favorite series growing up, and the ending of that is so just like I don't know the whole fourth season because they're at an academy where you play Yu-Gi-Oh cards for a living, and then the last season is all of them being like, oh shit, we got to get jobs after this, and we got to figure out what we're going to do next, and then the main character really doesn't get any development on that season, and it ends with him just kind of walking off into the desert with those like. I don't think it's actually that, but it's what I pictured. Like when they would depict like a homeless guy, like a tramp, he would have that stick with the cloth thing hanging from it.
Have his bundle. Yep.
Yeah, bindle, that's what it's called. And it basically shows Jaden just walking into the desert with what I think he's got a sleeping bag over his shoulder or something, but like it's yeah, he's just kind of wanders into the desert and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go help people that are getting attacked by dual monster spirits or something."
It's
And
about a card game.
that's it, man. And then my brother recommended I check out the movie, which has like all the three protagonists. And I got about halfway through the movie and I was just like, oh, I've been watching Yu-Gi-Oh! Duels, nonstop for the last couple of days. So I just couldn't get into it. But why was it telling you about Yu-Gi-Oh? What was this related to?
Because we were talking about how you love looking inside a bag of mints and being like,
Oh
fuck yeah,
yeah.
there's some left.
So actually, when I was
But you hate
watching,
Yu-Gi-Oh! No.
yeah, I have this weird thing where I need things need to be completed. So, uh, knowing that there's like if I'm trying to watch Supernatural or something, and there's like 27 episodes per season, I look at that as like, oh God, there's so much work to be done, you know?
Yeah, I do sort of feel like that. My friends got me watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which is a
Uh-huh.
great show, very
Yeah.
funny, but I'm only halfway through season one. I've already watched like 20 episodes,
Yeah.
and there are
So
100
long.
episodes to go.
That's brutal. Alrighty, we've got to wrap this up. So thank you, Henry, for joining me on this annual. Last year we tried to do Q&Tay, but that's not really sustainable to do that long term. So next year we'll do another one of these tiny joys. I've still got a bunch on my list. So
Yeah,
thank you for joining me,
perfect.
Henry. Give us the
Thanks for having
plugs.
me.
What would you like to plug for the listeners?
I'll plug Henry Hickman's Survivor, which is where I, Henry Hickman, talk about Survivor. Check that one out. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'll also plug Taylor Ruddle. He's pretty cool. You should check him out sometime.
Shit, he
That's my
sounds like
plugs.
a good guy.
He
I should
does.
plug my special actually. Go along and watch Panic
Yeah.
at the Buffet. At this time, it's hit something like 2.2K watches, which for me is like the biggest I've ever released anything. That's, for guys like you, that's low numbers. I think you get like 4K in 24 hours, but yeah, you know what? I'm happy with my achievements. So it
Comparison is the theft of joy, Taylor.
is.
Comparison
Don't
is
I
the
know
theft
it,
of
man?
joy.
Don't I know it? Alrighty, thank you, Henry, and I'm sure you'll be back at some point.
Oh, if you can catch me first.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to Ruddle Me This. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave me a review on your favorite podcast platform. You can find me on social media at Taylor Ruddle Comedy on all the major platforms. You can also join patreon.com/Taylor Ruddle Comedy for free, which gets you access to all sorts of extras and behind the scenes content, as well as allows you to communicate directly with me and let me know what you think of the show. Tune in again next Monday for another episode of Ruddle Me This, and until then, Ruddle her out.
This has been a Tape Deck Media production. Thank you for listening.
Hey Ruddlers, I joined a group of podcasters that we are calling the Trailer Alliance, a group of podcasters that share each other's trailers at the end of the episodes and generally support each other. So at the end of each episode for the next few weeks, I'm going to be playing a trailer of one of the members of the Trailer Alliance. And here's one of them now. I hope you like it.
Top of the day, everyone. I'm Nisha.
And I'm Buddha Badass.
And we're the hosts of Hot Garbage True Crime Edition. Do you guys like true crime?
I really don't. I feel like you force me on this show every freaking time I come here.
Do you guys enjoy listening to victims and murderers and grotesque stuff?
People that are sick in the freaking head, that's who likes it. That's who likes it.
Well, if you like that kind of stuff, then you should totally check us out. I mean, every single Thursday, we drop the most hottest cases, and we have fun while doing it.
You drop the most hottest cases? You drop murder and death. Kill.
How many people can actually say that they have fun while listening to a true crime podcast? And I feel like that's what we do here.
So you're just not going to listen to me now? I'm just going to say this and you're not going to listen to me?
And you know what? Our listeners are not just our listeners, but they're our friends and our trash pandas. We love you guys.
They're a lot, and I will agree to that part, but I'm still just mad at you for just not talking to me. They're paying you this well to say all this.
So check out Hot Garbage on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Check us out every single Thursday. A new episode drops.
I officially hate this commercial. On some real.